The day I turned 19, I seemed to have died a little. The day I turned 19, I brushed my teeth 2, 4, 7 times, willing its impurity to crumble, hoping that would be enough repentance. The day I turned 19, my mother buried me in my birthday suit, beneath a field of poppies stark against my pale skin. The day I turned 19, I did not return home. I laid face down in the grass, breathing in the mossy earth, willing it to feel my hurt, shoving it into my heart until it splintered out in agony, until it clawed and begged, until it kneeled in front of me, screaming to stop, to end the very pain it has dealt me. The day I turned 19, I asked the earth, "Was that fun for you?" But the earth did not respond. The earth stood still. The day I turned 19, my heart went silent, and the earth screamed.
Journal entry number 1. Dear Journal, hi, it's me. I don't really know how to start this off, but we should talk, right? That's what I keep hearing. Journal this, journal that. They said you can help me discover myself, love myself. What even is that? Really, what is self-love? Is it really a feeling of wholeness? A feeling of acceptance? Whatever that means. Can I truly be allowed to feel those things? When everything about me feels so wrong, tell me, journal, if I truly allow myself to sink into this mysterious pit of self-love, will I finally be okay?
I guess to me, self-love is...
It's the act of accepting who you are and not being able to change that.
To recognize and appreciate the power and beauty of your own body.
The acceptance of yourself, but the acceptance of like who you are at any given stage.
And having compassion around what it's possible for me to accomplish.
Because I feel like most of the time we're pressured to complete this work for professors or like, you know, go out with your friends to make them happy or whatever. But like, what is actually making you happy if you're sitting by yourself?
As a Black woman, understanding self-love, to this day, I don't think I've completely figured it out. I think I'm still working on it because there's so many different voices and like things coming at you at once, especially nowadays we're also fixated on the media. And I feel like the media, they've set some beauty standards that doesn't involve Black people. So I feel like with me and my personal journey, I'm still figuring it out.
Journal entry number 20. Today I kept reflecting on a quote by Susan Miller. She said, "I kept thinking love must be here, somewhere. I looked and looked inside myself, but I couldn't find it. And I wondered, thought about it a little, let it sink in until every last word was engraved in my mind. Can I be honest? I felt sadness at first. But then I felt anger. Anger because how dare they tell me to love myself in a world where I hardly see myself. In a world that has hated me before I was even born. Kicked and beaten into a pulp of hatred, not just for this world, but for myself, for being, for existing. Let me tell you, life is hard. But why does it have to be so hard to love myself?
So So growing up, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, but then I spent some time in Africa. I think my time in Africa really shaped it because I was exposed to colorism. So for me, everyone was really targeting me, saying that I was like the dark-skinned person. Oh, like you're dark, you look like your mom, but you're dark, you know, so you're not that pretty. So then when I came here, it didn't really get better.
Art culture, like kind of mainstream media, it like sort of kind of puts inside your head what you think you should be. In the US, there can be this like hyper criticism of what bodies should be.
I just think that ties in so much to like what we've simultaneously as a generation defined like self, like what we're supposed to be.
In high school, I had some bad experiences with Instagram and body image and just like seeing all those same bodies all the time and thinking, oh my gosh, that is not me, that is not what I want to be, that is not what I look like.
There really is an emphasis on certain kinds of bodies as being desirable and beautiful or handsome, and I do think that impacts what we think is our own bodies should be.
I also think about online when people are practicing self-care. You see those videos of like, oh, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I took my shower and had my iced chai latte that I made from scratch. And for people that like that's not achievable.
We still have idealized forms of beauty. Thinness is certainly celebrated in mainstream media. I think that affluence is celebrated, ability to buy a certain kind of clothing, to present oneself in a certain kind of way. That is an impediment to self-love because then you're always measuring yourself against whatever is sort of idealized.
Seeing it in the media and seeing how like people create that division, it hurts.
It just seems like the opposite of what self-love should be.
You're just like, oh, I'll never be as good as those like people who wake up at 5 a.m. so I might as well just give up now.
I think self-love is complicated and I think it's hard to figure out, and I think it also gets conflated in media and just all these pretty people telling you to do pretty things.
Ever since, I feel like for me, it kind of started around middle school.
Yeah, I think it probably started for me in college.
As a kid, they would say more subtly like, oh, she's dark, she's not that pretty, stuff like that. And
in high school, I was bulimic. Like I constantly thought that I was, overweight. I wasn't, whatever that means. But I constantly thought that I needed to lose weight, which just wasn't true. Now I think
like people would tell me that I looked like a man just because I was tall, dark skinned, and at that time I was a little thinner, and it made me feel really down on myself.
And so it was like I was like, oh, I'm not skinny enough, like I need to look like this, I need to look like that, and it ended up just being like a spiraling like process.
I would always internalize it, and I think it really started to affect me when I got to middle school and I started mixing with like boys and stuff.
And then as soon as I started to get like social media and stuff like that, it was like I started just questioning like my self-worth, but specifically with grades.
Like often it's like, oh, you need to check these boxes. Like you're only allowed to love yourself if you like wash your face every night and like take a bubble bath twice a week, right?
And I feel like that's what many Black women are struggling with now, because they don't realize that their issues are common issues that other Black women relate to. So they just suppress it and they suppress it until one day they've just had enough and they're just numb to all of the unbelievable standards that like the society has set for us, trying to mold themselves to fit it. For years, I never wore my natural hair out. And it's like, it's not that I love my natural hair, I love putting my hair in 2 braids, but it's like, damn, are people gonna talk about how short my hair is? Are they gonna be like, oh, your hair's not long, or like your hair's nappy? All that stuff, it really played a part into it.
But I think that the comparison between other students just became so much worse once I came to a school where everyone was like really academically like driven, and I don't know, I just feel like I expected so much of myself, and when that wasn't met immediately, I just doubted myself so much.
I know that I'm doing enough to match my other peers in the class, but I feel like I have to go that extra step just to make sure that they see me.
For me, at least, there's a lot of moments in my past where I look back at them and I just kind of like hate myself for it. Like, just like, why did I say that? Or like, why did I do that? Like, what was I thinking? And it's just like that guilt is something that really tears into my like self-love. Is just like guilt over my past actions. And it's really hard for me to move past that because I feel like I want to be a new person, and I
don't want to bring to my role as a parent judgment of my own body. I want my kids just to feel like your body is okay the way it is. It's beautiful, you're handsome. I don't want them to have that own kind of judgment of themselves.
Would target me, see me because I was tall, dark-skinned, and like a little thin. People would like see me as the outcast, and I felt like I used that to isolate myself. Like, it's okay, they don't want to be around me, so let me just stay to myself. So I wish I started practicing that idea of affirmations to build one up earlier.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Afiwa. Happy birthday to you.
Journal entry number 2. Today I knew of warmth. I knew of sounds of laughter that sound as pretty as wind chimes. I knew of a world of stress that melted away the moment I entered a space. The atmosphere hugged me like a blanket that I never wanted to leave. It wiped away my tears that I had not even shed. No, I never want to leave. Isn't it funny how time goes by so quickly when we talk endlessly about the struggles we endured this week? Or how if we were planets, you would be Venus, I Jupiter, and them Mars? To belong unapologetically myself has never felt so right. For once in this long life, I can feel that everything might be alright.
Self-love is not necessarily for me manufactured from within. It comes because other people are loving you. And it kind of teaches you to embrace parts of your own flesh that maybe previously you didn't understand were not only tolerable, but beautiful in their own way.
I don't think anyone can thrive without the stability of a community.
The worst times that I've struggled, it's been because I haven't reached out to other people for help, because I've dealt with it on my own. And even though it feels like such a feat to like be able to reach out and be like, hey, I need help. It feels like you're kind of betraying yourself in some way. Like, you're like, no, I can deal with it my own. But
you need to get outside of yourself. You know, you need to be able to relate and connect with other people. And in order to do that, you have to have community.
Just the support that people give you.
That is incredibly freeing, to be a part of a community that is less about normativity and more about the kind of desirability of a variety of different bodies and presentation of bodies. That was life-changing for me.
But I think the things that like bring me the most satisfaction are still the connections that I have with other people, like hanging out with my friends, you know, centering the people that I care about.
Being a part of a community that celebrates, body hair, that celebrates size, not just like tolerates that, but is like, sees all kinds of different bodies as desirable, changes how you experience your own flesh.
Even if you're just struggling, it's like having that community and knowing that even if you don't love yourself, other people love you. It's like eventually that love kind of it starts to seep in, and you start to see yourself the way that other people see you.
Laugh lines are amazing because we've laughed so much together, and like reflecting back, like these are not things to be despised because I love them, and you could venture to love your flesh too.
Every single day, but I'm trying to make an active effort to love myself and accept myself through it.
Journal entry number 20.
That like normativity is not that sexy, frankly. And what is being real and being you, and it's all of the unique, parts that make up each of us. Yeah, you'll grow throughout your lifetime.
I like to think that I'm a person who values keeping my word. I like to keep my word, especially when it involves showing up for people. Although this is true for others, I've come to realize that same sentiment is not given to myself.
I'll still wear my braids. I won't put on a wig just because someone tells me so, like the straight hair, curly. It's not me. And I won't change myself in different environments to match that.
Why is that? Why is it harder for you to keep your word to yourself? I'll stop there because I know how self-critical I can be. Instead of going down the list of ways you have let promises slip away, let's make one true promise that will guide you into rivers of hope.
I had to first look at a word that describes unconditional self-love. I would start with grace.
We have to give ourselves a little bit of grace. Like, we're only human. Like, we make mistakes. We don't know what's gonna come, and we don't know how our past is gonna show up in the future again. You can love yourself and still be hard on yourself, but you have to understand that you can't be too hard on yourself to the point where you're breaking yourself down and thinking that you're worthless, because you are worth something.
That promise is to love yourself. Oh, if only you could. You would see something that is incomparable and undeniable. Someone who is worthy of every ounce of love that comes her way.
There is not time to drag oneself down.
I think that's like one of the main problems with liberalism and capitalism in general, right? That only your production is what matters, and that's all you're gonna be able to show for your life. When maybe we should be centering pleasure and joy, love, right? Take some time to sit with yourself without other people around, and just sit with yourself and think what would make me happiest right now? And I think that sounds simple, but it's not always as simple as it sounds.
Someone who is worthy enough to look in the mirror every day and smile or even cry at how marvelous she is. Love yourself because you need this to survive. Love conquers the lies. The many lies that try to keep you from taking the time to see you. Love enables you to prioritize your humanity, which is very much so your emotional reality.
I think what the most important thing for self-love is you have to recognize what you need first. And if you can't recognize what you need, then you're not going to be able to practice anything, because you're not going to be able to figure that out.
Sometimes when I sit there and think, oh, what do I need right now? All that'll come up will be oh, I need to eat, or I need to take a nap, right? And those could be valid forms of self-care. And I feel we should stop doubting our own actions in that way, right?
So for me, I still struggle with that and trying to make sure that okay, you didn't get an assignment done. It's okay, talk to yourself like you would a friend. Say, okay, this didn't happen today, that's okay. Or maybe you have a really long to-do list and you just feel really overwhelmed. I think being able to recognize that not being able to accomplish things is not the same thing as who you are.
Love yourself because you know you won't always make the right decisions. But always remember forgiveness.
And so trusting ourselves a lot more, because we live with ourselves every day, right? And so we ultimately start understanding aspects of ourselves. And if we need someone to help us navigate that, be open to that.
Every day, who you are and what you need is going to change. So you have to continuously check in, you have to continuously practice, and you have to just be aware and be comfortable with yourself. And don't judge yourself for whatever it is that you need. If you need to stay home, you need to stay home.
Love yourself because you know that your love is meant to birth something beautiful. You may not yet know how or when or what this love will birth, but keeping this promise will lead you to joy and hope. Labor pains will happen in your life, but always promise me you'll gracefully weather through it.
I'd say the biggest thing that helped me is just knowing that healing isn't linear. I think that a lot of times we tend to beat ourselves up if we have a day where like we just can't get up and go to class, or we just didn't finish a homework assignment on time, or you canceled on your friends even though you really wanted to go and you just felt like you couldn't because of anxiety. I just think that it's important to know that it's not going to be a linear process, and it's okay to have those days where you really feel like shit, honestly.
Not forgetting what is, was, and is to come. Love. The promise of love given by God, allowing you to keep this promise to yourself. I promise, I will love you forever.
If we can't accept ourselves, then we can't love ourselves through all of the hard times when we're not going to be that person that we want to be. I just feel like it showed me how important it is to like love yourself and at least try to accept yourself, because if you don't, things will just spiral and spiral, and then they can't get any better until you kind of like make a change to start healing yourself.
Journal 0. Can you promise me that no matter what happens, that no matter what kicks you down or hurts you, that you'll get back up, that you'll live your life to the fullest, but give yourself the space to take a break and just be? Promise me, please, that you'll do the best you can for yourself, whether that's cleaning the room or leaving the house. For me, you. Promise that you'll love yourself, because while it might not seem like it a day, week, month, year from now, everything will just be okay.